Internet, and welcome to Sage Gaming, with the second Sage Gaming podcast with actually Tina. We are still discussing Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward and her journey through them because, well, it might have gotten a little bit away from us last time and we never got even halfway through what we wanted to talk about, or at least only just there. So, welcome again, Tina. I'm so glad you were willing to come back.
I'm glad to be back. I had a lot of fun last time.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm very happy about it. It was a good podcast, actually, I think.
I think we did good.
I think we did. I think we got around to all of it. Anyway, we got a couple of things today. We have done characters and a lot of other stuff. So basically today we have some themes I want to go over and a plot hole regarding the Bloody Banquet I want to discuss. Because I promised you on Twitter I had a rant coming up about that. And a couple of other small things. But first of all, let me get your opinion, because now you are through Heaven's Ward, so let me get your opinion on a question that was posed to me, strangely enough, just in private somewhere, from someone who's not really on Twitter or anywhere else, but what is your opinion on ether currents?
I heard they were worse. But, so when I got to them, there's only 4 in each area now, but I can tell based on other people's reactions when people have told me there were a lot more at one point, and there were a lot more to side quests than there are now.
There used to be 10 with around I think 6 in the wild and 3 side quests and 1 just following the main storyline.
Yeah,
that's how I remember it, at least when I came in.
Yeah, I don't know what they've done to make them easier, other than just there are now only 4 in each zone that are in the wild, and then 4 that are related to side quests. But I think they also moved a couple of them. But I get why they have the system so that you're not just flying everywhere, especially with like half of the Sea of Clouds being out of bounds for story reasons.
Yeah.
It is genuinely annoying, and I think I'm not sure how they could make a better system though, unless they just tied flight to simply MSQ completion. That's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, that would be the logical solution, right? Basically,
Yes.
Just ignore the whole thing, and then as soon as you were done with a zone, you can fly here now. Story reason, your mount has decided that it likes it. I don't know. Again, it doesn't really matter. It was just a fun question because I hadn't even thought about the ether currents because yes, they are annoying, especially because sometimes you end up trying to find an ether current only then to realize, oh crap, I just spent 5 minutes running around for something that's obviously meant to get to later.
Yeah, and then but I also. They would have to, if they tie it to MSQ, they would have to do it in blocks, not put it at the end, because places like the Sea of Clouds specifically are
it's the Sea of Clouds. I can tell you, even just going forward to several other expansions, you will never see anything that would be as relevant as the Sea of Clouds again.
Yeah, no, people, this is not Heaven's Ward related, but I had finished the Ruby Sea area, and people told me that Ruby Sea was really bad.
Ruby Sea was... I don't think Ruby Sea was bad. It was just incredibly annoying.
Yes, I would say
they were
annoying,
weird places, and Ruby Sea is a lot in levels, so to speak, like above and below. And Ruby Sea was annoying. Now that I think about it,
it was annoying, but I still think Sea of Clouds is worse because Sea of Clouds. It wasn't just that. Your quest nodes, ether currents, they can be literally not on your plane of existence. They can be below and above you. Mm-hmm. At least with clouds, if you were standing on top of it, you couldn't see it, then you're like, oh, it's probably in the water.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the only other thing I can say is that I kind of understand why it's there. It does, to a certain degree, force players to try to explore the world a little. See some stuff. I do get why they might have thought, okay, instead of people just running from, exclamation mark to exclamation mark, let's try to put this in. It might might make people see something. But yeah, I'm with you. So yeah, that's the answer. I guess they're annoying. They're not horrible, but yeah, I would probably just rather tie it to finishing a zone.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was that because I think there are more creative ways you can get players to explore areas.
Yeah.
Linking certain areas to side quests. I know that there are a lot of side quests, and not everyone is insane like me and does them all. But like I've just explored the map doing those, and that
I
gets
am actually on my way to follow you around to doing that. Because now I'm done with everything, and I'm just leveling new classes. And, you know, if I'm not doing anything else, I'm just running around clearing side quests for extra experience.
Yeah.
So I'm missing like three areas of Endwalker now. But no, I get it. Right, so let's move on. Let's move on to something I wanted to discuss from the beginning, which is the themes of the game. This is where I think the meat comes in, because one thing is that the game is based on a very clear story and some very clear characters. I also think they have done a lot to make the overarching themes more coherent than I've seen in a lot of other MMOs. I don't know exactly how to explain it, because it's not like there isn't quest that goes against the overall theme. But the concept of, you know, basically friendship, togetherness, hope, etc., 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 I feel is really well coherently put together for the entire game compared to a lot of others I have played over the years. Now, I know you're not exactly the biggest MMO specialist, so you can't really say that, but have you had any sort of thoughts about the themes of the game as you went through it?
I think the best way is the themes that are in a Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward. They're not new. It's not groundbreaking.
Oh no.
They're very, very, very tropey, very cliche, but they're done just so well, and the writing is so good that it feels like you're taking new ground, but you're not.
Yeah, that's one thing where it's like tropes are tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because something is a trope doesn't mean it's bad. Any tool can be used for good or for evil, though not for evil. But any tool can be used one way or the other. And I do think that those kinds of things. But I just feel like I have played other MMOs and I have played other games, and I don't think a lot of the sort of themes have been this, I don't know, well structured. I mean, everyone seems to be more or less working toward, everything you do seems to be more or less working towards the same thing. Even stuff like the Moogle's Beast Quest, which is more or less comic relief in a lot of ways, to a certain degree underscores some of the stuff we have. I mean, you mentioned it yourself on Twitter. The Moogles are, damn, they can be annoying from time to time, but at the same time, their loyalty towards Reisvelga, for instance, is very touching in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it's more than just he lets us live here and doesn't eat us. Like they genuinely respect Reisvelger. They actually approach you and are like, we want to fix this up because Nidhogg and his children have basically wrecked the place, and Reisvelger is too depressed to do anything about it, so we want to help him out.
Our favorite depressed dragon. By the way, here's a minor thing for me. It's one thing to name most of the dragons after, you know, old Nordic mythology, but why would they take the main ally dragon you have and name him Corpse Maw, of all things? Corpse Swallower.
Oh god. Is that what his name actually means in
Reisvelga, yeah, or Reisvelga, yeah. It means corpse maw. Basically, the best translation is corpse maw. It comes from a figure in Nordic mythology that feeds on corpses, basically. Nidhogg and Ratatosk make sense for what they sort of is. Hreysvelgr was just weird, but I guess they ran out of dragons to. I guess if they didn't want to go full Fafnir, they ended up running out of dragon names, basically.
Or they just really, really wanted to tie into his relationship with Shiva and just be like it was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I guess so. Yeah, that's maybe you should have picked a better name before you ate your girlfriend, dude. That's all I can say there.
She was dying. It's fine.
Yeah, well, these things happen here and there.
Yeah. But no, like I didn't realize that's what it's named. I knew that all of the first brood, at least to my knowledge, are all named after Norse mythological figures.
So far.
That's
all I'm going to say, because you haven't gotten to. You haven't gotten entire. Yeah, I don't think you've gotten entire. I don't know. Have you met the sister?
Oh, Tiamat. Yeah,
Tiamat
she's not
is,
a Norse.
Of course, from Babylonian stuff.
Yeah, and also
I forgot she was in Heavensward. She came in it as Isla, of course.
Yeah, I forgot she was there too, but she comes in at the end, and it's also a callback to Final Fantasy games because that's
obviously. I mean, Bahamut, right?
Yeah. I forgot about him too. I forgot about Bahamut too. He's not Norse.
No. Except, well, I mean, Tiamat and Bahamut is both Babylonian, or at least Middle Eastern. One way or the other, and then we have most of it. I mean, Midgard's Orm is northern, and Ratatosk, Nidhogg, and Hreysvelgr is, and those are the first one we meet after all. And then, I mean, as you say, they can't really have a bunch of dragons, including one that caused the damn calamity, without it being Tiamat and Bahamut. It is a Final Fantasy game after all.
Yeah.
It'll be like having a Final Fantasy game with a mysterious or non-mysterious white-haired engineer who was named Robert. I mean, there is some things you just don't do.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's just my minor thing about Hreysvelgr. About my first thought was, why are you naming him that? Is that coming back to haunt us? But no, it actually didn't. And I think we're done with Aether Current. Okay, so let's go back a little bit, because this is one thing we have. No, actually, while we're at it, there was a question we got from Twitter follower of yours before we actually even recorded the first one of these, and I know you wanted to answer that, so go ahead.
I did. Was this the question?
This was the question. Oh, sorry. Yeah, maybe I should actually ask the question. Tina, how do you get away with not seeing spoilers on Twitter and elsewhere?
So I got a couple of things. I have a blacklist that is ridiculous. Basically, as soon as a new character gets introduced and I can tell they're not a threat NPC, they get put on there. And all the expansions I haven't completed yet are on there. And people do a really good job of either mentioning the character name or the expansion that they're associated with. So it's genuinely pretty easy to block out most stuff on Twitter. And like, if it's something that just looks confusing to me and doesn't make any sense, I just scroll by it and I don't pay attention. And the good thing about kind of being as scatterbrained as I am is I usually forget it. So if I see something that looks kind of spoilery, I'll just forget it. But there definitely are things that are unavoidable that are either in the official art, like that's how I was like, I still don't understand it, but La Habrea being an old man and being somehow back in the game, that was basically spoiled on the 6.2 art, which I try not to pay attention to, but everyone was making old man hot jokes, so I kind of figured it out.
Well, yeah. Well, La Habrea.
Well, and he was off the blacklist. And he was off the blacklist because I thought he was dead.
Well,
so I was like, okay.
Well, I mean, no. Saying something, I mean, you can't. This is one of those situations where I'm like, I could say this. No, I can't. Because it's not an immediate spoiler, but it actually is a spoiler, so I will go away from that despite everything.
and everyone else seems equally confused when they kind of talk about it because they're like, well, he is dead, but also not. And I'm like, okay, this is confusing. I'm just gonna not cry anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's also like the soulless minion, which I didn't read the description for,
Good.
but obviously
Wise.
I know what that is. So, well, because he hasn't been introduced yet. When he gets introduced, I'll read it. But like, yeah. So obviously, the official. I can't avoid the official spoilers because I wasn't gonna not free minion and then pay for it in a year. That would be stupid.
Yeah,
So,
obviously.
And there are things that I've seen, but like I said, if it doesn't make any sense, then I'm either gonna forget it or I just don't. I just accept that it is something I do not understand.
That's probably wise.
There definitely are things that I've seen that I know are spoilers just by context. I follow some people who do not speak English, which means that the characters' names are different and they're not on my blacklist. So
yeah.
I've seen some people. I've seen a lot of this character who is. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but they have long purple hair. And
yes,
I've seen.
Yes, I'm sorry. I know exactly. I think actually the hair is lilac, but
yes,
I know exactly who you're talking about. And no, I am not saying a word. There is not a single word I can say about. I'm not kidding. That character might be the single most spoilery thing I can possibly talk about. So no.
Yeah. So I know that is Final Fantasy 14 related. Mm-hmm. I don't know who it is. Good. So I just passed it whenever I see it.
Good. I'm sure you will get to them eventually.
so yeah, that's how I deal with it. I have a blacklist, and then stuff that gets through, if it's official, I just try to not interact with it as much as possible. And if it just gets through the blacklist, I just ignore it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I can do. So.
All right, another question. Favorite storyline in the game so far? Apparently apart, of course, from MSQ. Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure we both say the main storyline of Heavensward.
Yeah, that would be.
That's an easy one to answer.
Oh God, I would say. This is gonna, like, everyone is probably, a lot of people probably answer this one, so it's very, like, popular, but it's just so good. The Dark Knight stuff. Yep. Anything that Dark Knight is good.
I said I have a personal issue with the Dark Knight, but that's based on the personal lore I developed for my character. But there is little question that the writing for the Dark Knight storyline is incredibly superior.
I would say a second favorite is anything that goes on with the Rogue and Ninja quest lines, because those
are good.
They're not super dark and serious. It's like a heist movie is the best way I can describe it, with the an old like ninja movie combined. It's very entertaining. Those two are really good. I'm trying to think what.
Here's an answer for me. I know I'm not the one being asked, but here's an answer for me that might shock some people. Hildebrand quest lines.
Oh, those are always fun.
I mean, leaving aside that they are usually hilarious, they are actually pretty often within the level of Hildebrand, they are actually pretty well scripted. Honestly, they're pretty good, in my opinion.
They are like their own self-contained mini movies.
Yeah.
Game. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like an old school detective movie, but it's not taken seriously.
I mean, Hildebrand is something that could very, very well outlive its welcome if it was only just the slapstick adventures of Hildebrand Mandeville. I do think that it's being kept alive just because the writing is actually really good in it.
Well, and also don't they test the animations with them?
Oh, also that, yes, of course. Yeah.
They do.
There is a reason why, and if nothing else, they're freaking hilarious. That's just what it is. But I mean, go on, sorry.
And you can definitely tell that they test the animations with it, because after the first Hildebrand quest and in Heavensward, the animations for the characters was much less stiff.
Yeah.
So I had a feeling that was related. They were like, since we're already playing with these models,
absolutely, they're just they're taking the Hildebrand facial expressions and so on, and just toning them down to normal level instead of
Yeah.
overwrought stuff. No, but I mean, just to stay with Hildebrand for a second, the Heavensward Hildebrand, I mean, the ARR Hildebrand stuff wasn't bad in any way. It also gave us some extra lore regarding the history of Uldar, which was fun enough. But the Heavensward Hildebrand was actually also pretty well, like I said, in tying in with some of the themes. Because the whole point of the whole villains of Heavensward was basically, let's restart this bloody war because we want fame and glory. Which is exactly what we spent all of the expansions fighting against, all of the patch cycle fighting against, after we had gotten rid of Thordan.
And it also, I actually cried during the Heavensward Hildebrand quest at the end, because they threw in the character that is just a direct inspiration from Vivi. They even call him Vivi at some point.
Oh, that's his name. That was his original name. It's just that he got another one in the storyline what we have.
Yeah, but the ending to that is so...
You can go back to... Oh, yeah. No, go on. Sorry, I interrupted.
The ending to that is so touching. I mean, it's basically almost exactly what happens in Final Fantasy IX, but I like Final Fantasy IX, so I liked the direct inspiration.
I can tell you that you can go back for the entire rest of the game, and the mural he painted on the wall of the house in Idleshire will still be there. And whenever I come by Idleshire for any reason, I always make a point to go over there and just wave at it, because it was adorable.
Yeah, it's just a very it was just a very good questline. It was much better than the ARR ones, although the ARR Hildebrand they're not bad either. They're just fun, but it definitely it was more emotional than I think a Hildebrand quest should have been in the Heavensward one. I mean, to be frank,
again, that's kind of what there is. That's also what I mean with saying that it's sort of tied into the theme and the storyline a bit more. You could have played the whole Hildebrand quest line back in ARR, and it doesn't affect anything. It's not actually tied into the main game in any meaningful way, shape, or form. But Heavensward's kind of was. So yeah, there was a surprising pathos from time to time, when you're not dodging frying pans from his mother. Damn, that's a scary woman.
She is genuinely scary. Like, I mean, I guess you have to be. Her husband is Godbert.
Yeah.
But oh Jesus, that woman! It's the scariest character in Final Fantasy XIV.
We should at the Battle of Cartano, they should just have set her loose with a frying pan, and Bahamut would have been dead in microseconds. Too bad she was probably busy with something at the time. I don't know. I like I said last time, I also really like the Black Mage storyline, just for the mix of actual horror regarding the Void Sent possession, and then the rank humor of dealing with those quintuplet Lalafell guildmasters. I don't think there's a single guildmaster except for Archer that is genuinely terrible. No, probably. I haven't actually played Archer and Bard, so I can't say for sure.
It's not bad, but it's incredibly boring, is the best way I can describe it.
That's fair.
But the Bard quest makes it all worth it, because the Bard questline is great. So that's
good. It's nice when that sort of thing can save it.
Yes.
All right. Well, in that case, let's move on to the next one. There's a lot of favorite questions to get around to. Favorite zone so far?
Favorite zone. I really like the Gervanian hinterlands, wherever Old Sharlayan is, because I know it's either
that should be the hinterlands, just outside Idleshire. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I love the design of that area, and all of the just abandoned ruins of, well, I guess it's New Sharlayan, because Sharlayan is an Endwalker, but it just looks so abandoned, and it's been taken over, and it's just very interesting to explore and walk around. The only thing I don't like about it is there is no ether right there.
No, that's true. You have to go to Idleshire and travel from there. That can be annoying. This is true.
Yeah.
But again, I think the problem is, why would there be one? There is no one there.
Well, you see the broken remains of old ones, so it's like the game is teasing you.
Yeah.
And that's where Matoya's cave is. That's where my current favorite dungeon is.
Google Heart, right? You said that last time.
Yeah.
Great Google
Heart. So I find that area genuinely interesting, and also just because I like the fact that there's a society of academics, and they were like, "What should we do to guard our shit?" I don't know, summon demons. That sounds smart.
It sounds like something Sharlians would do. Also, just to explain, you can call it New Sharlian, Old Sharlian, what you want. It's basically later called the Sharlian colony.
Okay.
That's not it's not a spoiler because it is described as thus in Heavensward, sort of on and off. They're just not very clear. It sort of indicates that it was Sharlian, but obviously Sharlian hasn't been destroyed, so it's basically just a Sharlian colony that was eventually abandoned. This was never the Sharlian Heartlands.
Yeah, it was either Alphino, Kryle, or Ishtola who basically says, like, because they all lived there at one point in time. No, maybe Kryle didn't, but she knew that the other two who did. And they basically said that it was a colony, and they had been living there for a couple of years, and then the Empire the Empire did Empire things. And they said, yeah, we're out. So,
yep. Cheers, bye. That was fun. The Empire did Empire things. That's half. I mean, that's basically half the game, right? The Empire does Empire things. The other half of it, the Allegans once did Allegan things. Basically,
yeah.
That's literally half the game.
And they're very, very, very similar. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but they are stupidly similar. The Allegan Empire and the Garlean Empire.
I am sure that won't come up later with an explanation, so I'm going to tell you everything now or not. No. Right, in that case, let's move on to the last of the favorite ones that I got. Favorite characters. I think we sort of touched on that last time, but I chose the characters to discuss. So let's just go ahead and do it like more properly.
I would say favorite official Scion characters: Irion J, Kryle, Ishtola, and Alphino. Those are my favorite Scion characters for sure. And I think I've named half of the people, but that's beside the point. I just find their stories right now very interesting, and just their general personality. They're like I want to hang with these people. They're awesome. True. Not that the others are bad, but like Thancred is going through something, and he's grieving, and he's kind of aloof, which makes sense for what his character's been through. And Minophilia is questionable. At my point in the game, because she just kind of doesn't exist, but also does. And then I wouldn't consider Alice a Scion in Heavensward, because she does become an official Scion in like patch 5.
We can wait. I'm sure these questions will come up again. Who was your favorite characters in Stormblood? And since when you started Stormblood, so when Tina, for those of you who are not on Twitter, when Tina finished Stormblood. Heavensward, she changed her name for a month into actually Y'shtola. And when she was finished with that, it was like, taking a request about what name I should pick next time after Stormblood. And my question there was actually Alice, and I'm probably wrong. It looks like it's going to be actually Cenos, but
that would be terrifying. That's freaking odd.
Or actually Yutsuyo. We'll find out. Gotsuyo. We'll find out. There's a lot of characters. You haven't met most of them yet. You haven't met the best ones. Well, you haven't met the best ones. But there's a lot of good ones coming up now that you reach the steps.
But I think as far as NPCs go, for Heavensward, I think I definitely like Estinian. He's
a hard man not to like once he gets over himself.
He is so blunt, and he's My
That's
thing
why he's
is
so nice.
characters that can make me laugh, whether it's yeah,
no,
whether it's characters that make me laugh, whether it's unintentional or intentional, are they that's the way to get me to like them. And he is just both no, he is completely unintentionally funny, because I don't think that man tells a joke on purpose.
He doesn't. But I mean, that's also why he's so he's so good when paired up with Alpha now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they are the perfect. I mean, they really are the perfect comedy duo.
Yeah, and then also it's just like he's kind of a softie. Like you aren't really sure when you first meet him, but then you go on the worst road trip ever, and he's genuinely very, like, in his own way, very kind-hearted. But like, unless you've been around people in real life who are like that personality, because you don't pick up on it. But like when Alphino is having a moment because like everything is just hitting him and he's having a moment, he's like, "Hey, Alphino, go gather some firewood."
Yeah.
He's like, "This kid is losing his mind and I need to get his mind off of something. We gotta go do chores."
I agree. I'm also tempted to say that I can see why some might be pushed aside from Estinian, except for the fangirls, which are legion. But anyone who's friends with Amaric has to have some positive qualities, and he does show them from time to time.
Yeah, he's just very socially awkward, but he's not a bad guy. And it seems like he genuinely has a big heart, and he's just came back to the story. So I'm very happy to see him back, where I'm at right now. And then I think
are you doing all the side quests and class quests as well?
Yes.
Then I am pretty sure you might see him in the Dragoon class as well. I'm not entirely sure, but I think he might pop up there as well.
Okay. And then I think the only other Heavensward NPC that I really liked was just the entire Four Toms family, including Harchfont. They were all great.
You understand now why people had vigils outside the mansion when Edmund's voice actor died.
Yes.
That was a hard blow. Edmund was a good guy. Edmund was a very good guy.
His two sons, his official sons, they're great too in their own way. They had to get themselves in different ways, but
Emanuelaine is him. He will never change. He will get better, but he will never change.
He gets marginally better. It just literally took a punch to the face.
Yeah. And I mean, again, he has to have some good qualities, right? With his manservant being too intelligent for his own good.
I think I think with Emmanuel, he really wants to do good. He's just kind of stupid. Is the best way I can describe him.
That's fine.
But he's not malicious. He's just, I wouldn't even say he's stupid. It's just it feels like he doesn't think he's capable, so he doesn't want to do it.
No. He really has youngest son syndrome. He really does.
Yeah, and so
that's not an unknown concept.
But even when he was having his diva moment, which is why he got punched in the face, it wasn't coming from a place of malice. It was a lot of things that happened. His brother had died. He was still clearly grieving, and now their entire social system was changing. And you could just tell that it was all coming from a place of really fear. He was fearing things that were going to happen, and then, I think he's still struggling with things that had happened. The thing is that he reacted in like the worst way possible and almost got someone killed.
Yeah. Well, the killing the person didn't really break my heart considering the situation, but what it could have done to the settlement of Ishgard rather than plunge it into civil war, that would have been very bad.
Yes.
Also, let me just point there, Can we make a collection? I talk to my friend Ekris about this all the time. Can we make a collection to get Aymeric some better battle armor? Because he walks around in his battle armor and is then stabbed nearly to death by a peasant wielding what appears to be a dull bread knife. I mean, I know his uniform is very fetching and all, but maybe one that actually protects him a little bit from, random assaults on the street.
Well, he's also a paladin that doesn't carry a shield, so
it's all very...
I feel like it's a losing battle.
Yeah, I guess that's just one of those things where I'm like, how did you get stabbed? You're in full battle armor, and he had a bloody bread knife. That shouldn't be possible.
You know what though? Like in real life, I'm not saying this would happen, but like all it takes is usually something that doesn't look necessarily like a weapon, but it's because it doesn't look like a weapon, it's just small enough to get past like what
again. I am mocking it for the same reason I used to make fun of, because you mock to hide the pain, but it's the same reason I used to mock the death of Horshifang, dying by taking a shot meant for the Warrior of Light that is clearly going to end up on the ground a foot behind them. Let's be very noble here and jump in front of an attack that's not going to hit anyway. Yeah, brilliant thought there, Silver Fuller.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing, because, obviously it wasn't a dull bread knife, and if you're punching in right under the protective plate, you can absolutely go through. It's not like he's encased in Dreadnought, in 40k Dreadnought armor here.
No.
But still, that was so weird, because it looked like he was stabbed right in the chest, where an armor should be at its most powerful.
Yes.
Anyway, that out of the way, I want to call attention to one character that you haven't, just because I don't know. I have something just for the character, just for the way it's written and its personal storyline, but God, I love Matoya.
I love Matoya.
Cranky old lady with a very, very well-hidden heart of gold.
I love Matoya because every scene that she's in is fantastic.
It's gold.
And you can see that she is genuinely... She's also a softy character, too. She just is way better at hiding it than Estinian.
I mean,
but it's really there. There's a side quest you can do with her brooms.
That's the one I'm thinking about. It's very well hidden, and I don't know if everyone did that one, but it's so well done.
And if you find out that
I will never tell Stola as long as she lives.
I can't remember specifically what it is, but it has to do with when she dies.
This broom wants to do a favor for her, because it feels like it's not pulling its weight, and it's very grateful, and it's afraid it's going to be turned back into something, unintelligent broom or a toad.
No, it's a Parago, so it feels like it's going to be.
It's a Parago. It's not the broom in this case. Yeah. It has to do a favor for her, so it talks to all of her brooms to find the thing that matters the most to her, and it appears in the end, after a long and bold quest line, that the one thing that matters the most to Matoya is her memories of a young Ishtola running around her cave and, growing into a young woman, which is incredibly heartwarming. It's probably the first time in the game up until then I really was just, "Aww, that's sweet."
Yeah, and at the end of the quest line, you find out, because you've been talking to the brooms to try to figure it out, and the brooms are like, oh, there's actually like a fifth secret broom that can only be summoned by a password. And the one thing that that Matoya cares about. And so you go, but it's not even in the cave. You have to go outside to like this one specific area. And the password is actually Ishtola. And you find out the broom itself is like, it's able to carry all of the memories that she has of young Ishtola.
Yeah.
And when you come back, she says to the Parago, like, if you want to do something for me, when I die, I want you to get that specific broom and bury me with it.
Yeah. And it's very sweet. And then, of course, she's immediately, "What are you looking at me like that for? I don't intend to die right now." Go away. Like,
so,
she's
but
still
even
herself after all.
Yeah, even just the things that, the way that she, they find out that Minophilia is not coming back.
Yep.
And she's just like, she chose to do this. And she doesn't say it very nicely, but her intent is nice. She's trying to
Honestly, I think she said it in the way Alphino needed to hear it at the time. Because Alphino was still very caught up in his own guilt and sadness and sorrow from the whole Bloody Banquet and Crystal Brave fallout. Honestly, a sledgehammer to the face was probably needed at the time.
Yeah, and like that's why I don't. Well, I think she didn't say it nicely because she's not going to say it nicely. That's not her personality. But she also she wouldn't have said something that was going to necessarily break someone.
No.
It made a deduction in her head that no, he needs to hear this right now. Specifically, the way I say things.
Yeah. Alright, I also have one other than Matoya I just want to call attention to, just because I personally like her very much, and that is Tataru, or or however she's supposed to be pronounced. I love her so much. She's my girl.
I love her. I forgot to mention that she in my favorite Scions list, but I think it's because I genuinely forget that she's not a Scion.
Yeah, well, she is a Scion.
She is a Scion.
And coin keeper and basic spy master. But minor details.
And yeah, I mean, she's this weird, not a Scion, but also is a. I mean, I consider her a Scion, but
I consider her a Scion. I think everyone else considers her a Scion, but she's always very clear that she's their employee rather than a member. Except everyone else thinks that she's a member.
Yes, she's the secretary in quotation.
Yeah, exactly. The secretary / receptionist, and she will never call herself anything else.
Yeah, and she's great, and she really comes into her own in Heavensward because at the end in A Realm Reborn, and at the end of A Realm Reborn, she's like, I want to be more than the secretary receptionist, and so she is really, really hard.
The Arcanist storyline. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
And then it's just like, no, you're not a battle-worthy character. You're not good at this.
No, her carbuncle runs away from her in combat, which shouldn't be possible. They're not supposed to have intelligence.
Yeah, but then she finds out that she's actually a really good businesswoman, and then the banquet happens, and she's like, well, we need money. So since Alphino is like a child and you're off doing adventure things, I'm going to go work at the bar because it's also a good place to get information.
Yep.
And I think that's where she starts to really come into her own.
It really is. That's why I wanted to mention her now, because Tataru just gets better through the game, up until Endwalker. But for me, it really started she's a bit of a passive character in Realm Reborn because she doesn't do much. But from Heavensward onwards, I just loved her.
She really actually is just a secretary receptionist in A Realm Reborn. And then after that point where she's like, I want to do something to help. Maybe I can learn magic. That's when she starts to like grow as a character. And then in Heavensward, if you go back and talk to her in the bar, which I did constantly, she's like learning skills. She's learning how to weave. She's getting
super
connections. Cool. Yeah, she's actually like learning things, and she's she's literally just the Omnicrafter of the side.
For me, she just have one of the most adorable, not cutest, but one of the most adorable voices in the game. I don't know what the voice actress did, but damn, she made a good job of that one.
It's because like I agree, because when she's sad, you feel really bad about it.
You do. Like I said,
it's like someone kicked your puppy.
Like my Warrior of Light is named Fel. I'm not gonna go into the lore reasons why, but he is nonetheless. But let me just put it like this: the safest way to get my Warrior of Light to actually go out and kick some ass is to make Tataru cry. I mean, saving the world is one thing, but avenging the feelings of my secretary, yeah, I'm going to end you badly, really badly.
Okay.
Right, I think that was it. I think that was actually the questions we got from everyone out there. Hope there will be more for Stormblood, because answering questions for others is always interesting, because, you know, people are following your journey around, so that be what that be. Now, let's get to something that I've sort of been putting off for the entire time, because there's a bit of a negative aspect of it, but let's go with your least favorite things, aspects, storylines, etc. in the game. What about the game don't you like? Not just what about the game do you feel could be better, like the whole ARR experience, but is there anything in the game you generally dislike?
I think so. From my understanding, they choose the path forward for how the main story arc is going to go, like 2 expansions in advance or something. It's not, so this isn't all planned out. And sometimes you can really tell because they mention something and then it just goes nowhere and dies.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that was done a little bit better, like not to hint at so many things and then just kill them. Because there's been interesting things that have been introduced and then they're just never talked about again. And like, I don't see anyone on Twitter talking about them, so I assume that they just die. But
yeah,
like,
it does happen. There are storylines where it does happen.
Yeah, and I that's unavoidable. To the extent I understand that's unavoidable based on the way they plan things. So it's kind of is what it is. But I know that does, I pick up on that. I would say that some of the ways that they have the duty finder set up can be really annoying, specifically for in regards to people trying to cheese the lower content for the alliance raids, I would say.
Yeah.
Because I know that trick. I know what people do to get Crystal Tower because it's fast and easy. But it makes, I wish they would figure out a way to prevent people from doing that, because if you're trying to queue up for any other alliance raid that's not Crystal Tower, it's like 30 minutes.
It's pulling cats. Or herding cats,
yeah.
I believe is the expression.
It's like 40 minutes, and then people come into those raids and they're like, oh, I haven't had this one in a while, and like, so they don't know what they're doing, and my one criticism, and I know that they could probably fix that, I just don't know how they can fix that.
Yeah, I don't know either. Not without changing some of the penalties for like you say, cheesing stuff, and that seems overdone somehow.
Yeah, and then there's not much to hate right now.
I mean, I agree with you. This is, like I said, it's a sad subject, just because I don't like talking about things I dislike about the game. I rather prefer talking about things I do like about the game. I just feel like it's worth bringing up. But fortunately, it's a very good game with not too many things to dislike.
No, I mean, like, and it's really hard for me to find things that I just think are genuinely terrible. Because things like Realm Reborn's patch pacing issue, because it goes, you get off the high of finishing the MSQ, and then it gets really, really slow.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
And that's kind of a drag, but I can't really hate that too much because I also know why it's like that, because I know that Heaven's Ward got delayed,
and they're also doing their best to fix it. I mean, they cut quests off basically every new expansion.
Yeah, and they also have been going through and reworking the dungeons and the trials, and having done the old ones and now done the new ones, I'm like, okay, yeah, the new ones are better.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last time. The 6.1 rework and now 6.2 further reworks of the old ARR and Heaven's Word dungeons were so necessary, because otherwise I could have mentioned, Gaping Maw and other stuff as just bad. I just hated getting into that one. Honestly, also Satasha, just because it's dull. Satasha
needs an upgrade. Bad. It get upgraded, but it's also, I don't know how they could upgrade it to make it more entertaining, because it's supposed to be baby's first dungeon.
It is, and it works. It's just, I don't know.
And I think it's already The only thing that would make it, I think, more streamlined is get rid of the like extra areas so you can't really get lost. But I've only gotten lost. No, I've never gotten lost in there, so it's pretty straightforward.
Even then, what's the worst that can happen in Satasha? You have one extra pull of mobs. And honestly, if you run through it, someone is usually pulling them anyway, because, if you go into Satasha, unless you are starting a new character, or unless you're a Sprout, it's for experience points for a low-level character.
Yes.
And you want the experience, so you don't really care about the extra pull anyhow.
But generally, it's just really hard. I mean, it's not a perfect game. There's flaws in it. But I would say, like, there's nothing that is atrociously bad. And I understand people being like, the game is not for me. That is a fair complaint.
Absolutely, always.
You're not going to mesh with every genre. But I have seen people saying, like this is atrociously designed. And I'm just like, I don't think there's anything that's atrociously designed. Except for maybe navigating Sea of Clouds on foot. I'll give you that one. Yeah. But like, the thing is super, like, it doesn't feel necessarily half-assed or that it was just thrown in there. It's just, and they are trying to fix the things that were problematic before. So it's, I don't know, I can't really find anything that I genuinely hate. Even, and we're not going to get into this, but even in a very controversial expansion pack like Stormblood, there's a lot of things that people told me I would hate and I don't hate. So it's just as...
No, we'll leave Stormblood aside. We talked minorly about Stormblood last time and why I think a lot of the criticism... There is fair criticism of Stormblood, and we'll get to that in time. And sooner rather than later, the way you're going at it right now. But I still think a lot of the criticism of Stormblood is either overblown or, shall we call it, anti-hype. People say this is bad, so I have to treat it as if it was bad, or have to dislike it.
That, and I think we talked about it last time. It comes right after Storm.
Yes.
Right after.
I mean, that has always been my thing. It's sandwiched in between the two best MMO expansions of all time, or two of the three best MMO expansions of all time, and it's just good. So
and we can get
worse.
And I'm not going to dwell on that too much because I know when we talk about Stormblood, that's going to be its entire podcast. But I definitely can see the... But I only brought up Stormblood because there are people who've told me that and A Realm Reborn are awful and terrible. And having played through A Realm Reborn, and now I'm genuinely halfway through Stormblood, I'm like, this is not bad. I have played much worse games.
To be fair, I also go into games that I like with an intention to like it. I don't go into a game with an intention to find something to dislike, so something has to be actually bad to catch my attention as being bad. I never actually thought Stormblood was bad while playing it. I only realized after I was done with it that it was supposed to be bad, and I have my criticisms of it, but again, we have an entire podcast dedicated to that alone.
And I guess that, yes. And I guess that because I have played games that are just genuinely broken and atrocious, like just for my own amusement.
Kingdom Hearts 3. Sorry. I've never actually played Kingdom Hearts 3. I have no personal opinion on it, but I know people who have.
I wouldn't even consider that. I'm talking about like genuinely broken games, like things that get greenlit on Steam but might actually be like tax avoidance schemes.
Yeah.
And just so broken, and just games that are bad. I've played through and completed Devil May Cry 2 and the remake of Devil May Cry, and so like I've played some really bad games, and I'm just like, this is like a good 8 out of 10. I don't know what you...
Listen, I have played Retribution right to hell. Anything, it takes a lot to shock me with quality.
Yeah,
reviews.
So like, I think my reviews are a bit more fair because like I've played some like actual 1 out of 10 games, and this is fine. So I think that, but yeah, it's, I genuinely can't pick anything atrociously bad with A Realm or Heaven's Board. There's just things that are annoying, and there's things that are flawed, but I wouldn't say there's anything bad.
I have one thing that is constantly annoying me, And it's just a minor thing, but I actually think this is... I don't know if I want to say it's bad, but it's one of the things I like the least. So it's one of the things I really wish they would do something about. I want your attention on that. What is your opinion on limit breaks? Because I have an issue with limit breaks.
I don't know what your issue is, but now that they're actually like instrumental to some dungeons, like you will literally wipe if you don't use the correct one. I kind of I can see an issue with them, and I think maybe each class should have their own individual one.
My thing with, actually, as you said, especially, I think everyone gets a shock in Alexander when they, oh god, I can fire a 3-thing limit break, boom, oh wait, that I should have said that for the tank, now we're all dead.
Yes.
Which is a good thing, by the way. I think there should be more of that, but that's exactly what I'm thinking about. I think first of all, healer limit breaks exist, and they are really important, I know, in stuff like Savage and Unreal and so on, from time to time. But I honestly feel that what my issue is that the FPS limit break feels incredibly pedestrian. A tank limit break saves the day. And it's only used in so and so many dungeons. Again, you need to go into Alexander raid basically before you probably have ever fired a tank limit break in the game. Healer limit breaks, but the point is, a tank limit break, when it fires, feels consequential. It saves the party during a power attack. A healer limit break can save the party just before a wipe, and you can go on and probably win. DPS limit breaks feels incredibly pedestrian because they don't really do anything. They take off about a 1/10 of the life bar. And honestly, a DPS, there is, I think, one dungeon where I sometimes see a DPS limit break used to rid the arena of mobs. But even that isn't actually necessary. It's just used that way somehow. The thing I really... Again, it's limit breaks. It's super esoteric. I would really love to see the DPS limit break. I don't know how you can rework it, or even if you can rework it, but be meant to matter somehow. Limit breaks are so relevant and important in the whole Final Fantasy, the whole Final Fantasy oeuvre or genre or games or whatever franchise, and even firing a triple bar limit break in Final Fantasy XIV, it's just okay. I mean, we've fought this boss for 10 minutes now, and the only thing it does is shave off the last 20 seconds of the fight. That's what it does. I just really wish they would throw some stuff in where situational DPS limit breaks was relevant. They have sort of done it now at the end of the Ultima weapon fight, but even then you don't actually need it. It's fine and it make your life helpful, but you can actually DPS the damn thing down even without the limit break. Oh, yeah. I know, I've done it.
Same.
It's just a one minor small, so like I said, a minor small esoteric issue that I have with it, where I would want the DPS limit break to mean something. Just either in a boss where it was needed to rid us of some mobs, or just do more be more difficult to get, but do more damage or something. It just feels... I mean, I've gone through dungeons without ever firing a limit break because there's never been use for it. Never been a point.
Yeah,
most dungeons I go through without ever firing a limit break.
I always forget that it's kind of there. The only time I remember is when I'm playing healer, honestly, because I was running Runescape once a day to get the stupid minion, and let me tell you, I have never used a healer limit break more than I used it in that raid specifically, because when you fight Skathic, and then the very first boss that has all of, like, one-hit kill mechs, That would be the only time I've ever used the healer one so far, and it's because everyone would wipe on those a
Exactly.
lot.
But that's my point. Yeah, that's because people don't have the mechanics down. But again, that feels consequential, but because it gets people back on their feet and the fight continues. You don't wipe. Just like with a tank. Even with a tank, it's like, okay, I put up a limit break. We don't wipe. With the DPS, it's just like I throw a limit break and there's a flash of light on the screen, cool. And that happens. Yeah, some of them looks cool, some of them not quite so much. Let's be fair. Some of the melee DPS classes could use better limit breaks, limit break animation. But that's just it. That's just me. It's no, I didn't just put that topic in because I've been wanting to rant about DPS limit breaks for 4 expansions now. Absolutely not. That would be selfish, and I am not selfish.
I kind of agree when you bring it up that the DPS limit breaks, they do a lot of damage, and there are some times when they are situational. I've done a few EX fights legitimately where I wasn't using the unsync feature, so like I actually mechanics, and the DPS limit breaks are pretty useful in some of the EXs I've done, like when Ifrit puts down like the 8 nails, and if you have if you have a ranged one, you can knock out like 2 of them immediately. But
I guess I just feel that, like I said, I know they're also useful in Savage from time to time.
Yes.
And probably Unreal. And what's the last one? Savage, Unreal, and one more.
Ultimate.
I'm sure they're there too. I just feel like that's the kind of stuff you do additionally to the game. I have never run an ultimate thing. I've barely run Savage and Extreme just because I don't have time to get into it, find myself a group, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, I know I should run them. You know, when I find time and don't have anything else to do, I'll run them unsynced, etc., etc., etc. I just feel like if you have a mechanic like that, it should be relevant for the main game as well. Otherwise, just take it out and put it in where it belongs. Or
maybe just I try to revamp it. Maybe I don't know.
That's what I hope for, because I don't want it taken out. It's a limit break. It's a Final Fantasy limit break. You need it. I just really want they could rework it to something or make it more situational in certain dungeons where it's actually relevant to fire it.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's just something that just looks cool, like that. Don't it just make it feel like you like the DPS.
I agree, but the thing is, and this is my thing. Depending on which classes you have in with you, there is so much of a light show going on anyway. Half the time you won't notice.
That's true.
Because they're also usually, as I said, being fired off just to shave off the last 10 seconds of a boss fight, or 20 seconds of a boss fight. So there's a ton of light shows going on, then suddenly there's a bigger flash, and the thing ends.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I don't think I've ever seen any of the melee ones unless it's been a 4-man, and it's been a 3, because if I'm doing an 8-man trial or whatever, and everyone's shooting off all of their cooldowns at the end of you don't really see it unless it's like the Dragoon one where you actually can see the Middy's giant head.
Yeah, exactly.
On the side, so point.
Again, just something I have been thinking of over the last couple of weeks, a month, and so on and so on. So yeah, just a minor thing. It's not a big thing, but it is just a minor thing indeed. Anyway, let's get on with it, because there is one more thing that I don't like. And that's because I think it's a plot hole. And this is where I think we might get a discussion going. Because we kind of already did, and I've done it with a lot of other people. I know why it had to be done. I don't mind that it was done. It did for good story, and it put us into 3.0 and Heavensward. I don't like how the whole bloody banquet played out. I didn't like it, because I want your opinion on this, because I think it's a major plot hole that you can even get into the situation you're in. You should be able to talk your way out of this situation in 30 seconds flat. You are in a private meeting with Nanamo, a private dinner with Nanamo. She falls down and is poisoned. Telechi runs in with 2 goons and immediately starts bragging and boasting and whatever and have you arrested. Why didn't we just murder his and his 2 goons' ass right there and then tell everyone that he did it? Who would believe a member of the Monetarists, who we know is plotting against the Sultanate, rather than the Warrior of Light who had just saved Eorzea from the second Garlean invasion?
I think this might be one of those where it's like, it really depends on your player character's personality. So there was really no way that they could have written that where it would have matched everyone's player personality. No. But as far as like just the general idea of killing him and people believing you're Warrior of Light over Teledigi, I think, unlike Lolorito, who is genuinely despised by people, Teledigi, however you say his...
I think that's how I pronounce it anyway.
Teledigi.
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it. It might be wrong, but at least I can get my tongue around it.
Yeah. There are a couple of parts in the MSQ where you're doing stuff for him, and he's actually pretty decently well liked because he schmoozes up to like refugees and the poor and whatever, and he gets them jobs. It's all self-serving. He is the other, whereas Burrito is self-serving, but he's at least fairly upfront about it. Teleji, yeah. What's his face? Mr. Cut in Half.
Yeah. Mr. had an unfortunate case of being cut in half, boy.
Yeah. He actually, like, he's much more conniving. Which is saying something, because Lolorito is conniving too. But he's much more conniving about it because he comes and he pretends like he gives a shit, but he's like, no, I'm only helping his refugees because they'll work for me, they'll be loyal, and it's free labor. That's his whole thing. And so I think you had just murdered him. And right in front of the lady waiting, who at the time we didn't know was on the take, but it was very clear she was on the take. And then also the 2 crystal graves with Nanamo being passed out and the lady in waiting who has no reason necessarily to tell the truth. I think it would have been way harder to just talk out of it. Even your friends there. It would have looked like, you were trying it looked like you were trying to cover up your murder of Nanamo. To
be fair, I never actually wanted to kill Telechi. I wanted to kill his goons. Telechi I had no intention of keeping alive. No, I think he would have been much better keeping alive. I get what you're saying, and I'm also very, very well aware that it couldn't have happened any other way because they desperately needed the Scions split up on the run. So we would be forced to seek refuge in
and there was a lot of things that were definitely overdone that could have been done better in that scene. It's not a perfect scene by any means, and there's a couple of things that happen because plot it needs to happen.
I think it's the cutscene incompetence that is annoying me more than anything else, because this game is very, very good at not throwing cutscene incompetence at you, both from you and from your partners, really.
It's very good at not doing this is going to happen because plot reasons.
Yeah. Railroading. They're very of course they're railroading you. It's a video game. But they are very good at not doing the okay, you just murdered the Ultima weapon and now you're arrested by two of Telechi's goons? I mean, that was more than anything what annoyed me. Honestly, I think it wasn't even the fact that this happened, because I have to admit I was spoiled on it happening already. So I kind of knew what was coming. And again, I don't have a problem with it. It served its purpose. It got us to Heavensward. It set up Alphino's whole arc. It did the Crystal Praise thing. It set up the Griffin. There's a lot of things that it did. I think what annoyed me was when Telechi then marches into the Grand Chamber and the whole thing puts off and he just kicks you in as having been arrested by these two goons. This is where I'm like, no, fuck no. I want the opportunity to at least fight back. Then you can have him flee and do whatever is necessary. But it was the cutscene incompetence in a situation where you don't have any reason to do so that bugged me.
And I think that I don't think you even have any speaking lines at that point. You might have one.
You don't.
But
not a one.
Yeah, I don't remember. But like, yeah, maybe it could have been better if your character was able to say something and then have some doubt spread around, and then Taliji do something stupid to piss Robin off, and then the cutscene continues as it should have.
Honestly, I guess my main problem with it, beyond again the cutscene incompetence, it's not that I don't want my character to be arrested. That's fine. You can do that. Then he just needs more than two goons, or induce you with some reason to come quietly. That's my problem. You don't have any reason to come quietly, so the only thing I can imagine is that you were actually overpowered by two random goons, which seems unlikely considering the circumstances. But I also feel that cutscene... The cutscene was amazing. It was packed an emotional wallop like almost nothing else in the game up until that point. But it was also in some ways very, very rushed, I feel.
Yeah, which is weird because that entire cutscene is like 2 hours long.
Yeah. And yet
but I know what you're talking about because like a lot of things happen and it doesn't feel like that the cutscene is 2 hours long.
No, it doesn't. I just feel like certain things are rushed. I mean, he's dead and Raban immediately attacks him in a rage. I mean, I know Raban is a gladiator and everything, and I know he has his relationship with Nanamo. It seemed to me to be a bunch of out-of-character moments in that cutscene, and I think that was what bothered me more than anything else.
And they do actually I think they kind of realize that to an extent too, because they do try to address it. When you're going through and doing kind of your secret city tour, because you're technically a fugitive, but no one's going to you.
But not really.
Yeah, and you confront Merle about this specifically, and she says something along the lines of, "You have to understand, I was in shock, and I didn't know what was going on, and I definitely failed you because I should have just handled that better. I should have stuck up for you." So the game does try to acknowledge it. Now, whether you're satisfied or not is completely up to you.
Like I said, it's fine. I'm making this sound like a bigger deal than it is. It's just because we're talking about things that we don't particularly like in the game, and this is just one of those two things. Like, it's this scene, and it's basically this scene, and it's the damn TPS limit break. Those are the two things I wrote down as things I don't particularly like in this game. Just because, like I said, I think it could have been done better, and it's such a pivotal scene, and it packs this emotional wallop that I would want to be horrified and sad rather than annoyed and like, why did it do it like this?
Oh, and I'm agreeing with you in that some parts of that scene are very much not well done, or just kind of like, it does seem there be out of character moments, because I don't think Merwib would just go 7 hells and then walk out of there.
Exactly.
It doesn't...
Or Canisena, for that matter.
Yeah, like they do, and I think that's why later on in Heaven's Ward they have both Canisena and Merwib basically describe what was going on, and like it's an acceptable explanation, but it kind of
it's
like
fine.
In retrospect.
And again,
it sounds like in retrospect that they were like, yeah, we kind of did make an error there, so we're trying.
We should probably have made that. We should probably have made the 2-hour cutscene half an hour longer, basically. It's already the longest cutscene in the entire freaking game, 4 expansions later. But nonetheless,
yeah. I do see your point, and in retrospect, because they have the scene with those two characters specifically who say, yeah, we should have stuck up for you, but we were in shock. That's what they both say to an extent.
And
in their own way.
Again, there are limits to what they can do, because even if Nanamo is dead, even with what's going on, at that point they have to maintain the alliance. and there is no immediate threat of Lolorito dropping Ulda out of the alliance, it would probably fall apart anyhow, but minor detail. Again, I understand all of that, and again, it had to happen. To get to Heavensward, they had to, or how they wanted to play Heavensward, they had to get you stuck in Ishgard. Now, I know you can just go back even to Ulda and walk around. Hell, half the time, just to tweak my nose at people, I jumped back to Ulda and jumped up to the Grand Hall and stood outside the door doing a little dance, like, come and arrest me, assholes.
You can actually... There's actually dialogue. I believe there's dialogue at the Hall of Flames with the main guy who basically admits that, hey, because it's not widespread that Nanamo is, dead, it's not widespread that you're a fugitive for whatever reason, we're just not going to arrest you, but, we're not going to step in and protect you either. But I think you can handle
You can talk to certain NPCs in the game, it's like, you didn't do that. I don't believe that, so I'm not going to say anything.
And then there's a Crystal Graves that's guarding the Ulda Aetheryte, and if you talk to him every single time, he's like stuttering, and he's like,
I didn't see anything. You're not here. If I look right into thin air, you're not going to do anything to me.
That's exactly what he says. He says something like, "I'm just not going to report you."
Yeah,
but
that's probably for the
you should not come back here again. It's very clear that. Even they're skeptical about how guilty you are, which it doesn't ruin the immersion. It kind of makes it better because first of all, it makes it seem like the public doesn't really know what happened at the banquet. Somehow, this has all been kept sort of secret, probably
or at least
fear of death.
Yeah.
And also, they just respect you too much that they're not gonna, or they're at least scared of you, that they're not going to arrest you.
I mean, I would assume they were scared of me. I would be scared of me at that moment. Honestly, let me just... go.
The Crystal Braves are scared of you. The other, their free companies
Brass Blade should be scared of me at that point.
Because once Pippin comes back, they're like, yeah, we know everything.
The Immortal Flames are fine. The Brass Blades are like the Monetarist or the Syndicate's personal army. They should be afraid of me as well. The Immortal Flames were always on your side. They're basically like, I'm not going to arrest you. I mean, we have to work under these circumstances. Especially since they think that Raban is dead. It's not until later we find out Raban is alive and imprisoned. Officially, it depends on when you talk to various people, of course. But
yeah, I forgot the Immortal Flames and the Brass Blades are different. So I was like, no, the Ulda's police force doesn't fear you at all. They're just kind of, hey, believe him. But I forgot that they have two different police forces.
I'm also still a member of the Immortal Flames I'm a first lieutenant of the Immortal Flames in good standing. So yeah, suit yourself.
Throughout that whole mess, I was just able to go and tend to my squadrons, come and go as
basically. Hi,
like anyone was bothered.
It's you, fine. No, there isn't anything. Anyway, that's just my thing. It does lead to that point where I'm like, again, I understand why they are keeping Lolorito alive when you finally confront him at the Silver Bazaar, but that's another point where I'm like, there isn't actually a reason to do that. You could have killed him without too much complication, but again, that has value. It actually has value later. It does make sense, but leaving that aside, it does of course also lead to the whole thing with the Scion splitting. Like I said, it's necessary. The Scion splitting up, and it gave us the moment of Alphino having a minor crisis when Ishtola is pulled naked out of the live stream, which is also you just had a flash of puberty there, didn't you, my boy?
I was about to say, is it a crisis or was it an enlightening? I feel like an awakening of sorts.
Yes.
My favorite part of that is then Tataru comes in and she's like, I have an outfit for you and for Ishtola. Like, let's try it on. I have to make some measurements, which means she has to take her clothes off. And Alphino just does not move. Nope. He just stands there. and Tataru glares at him, and then he finally like sheepishly leaves because
I know.
it's like that boy had an awakening at that moment.
He really did. I don't. Someone has to tell Alice about it. Well, that does happen.
I feel like she knows at this point.
She knows her brother very, very well.
Yeah, they had
no question about that.
They had a very cute twin moment where in the game where he's just come back into the storyline because he was benched in Kugani.
Yeah.
And they had a twin moment where Alisai is like, I feel like this is a job for my beloved brother who I was who I was blessed enough to share a womb with, and she's being genuinely serious, but she also doesn't want to do it, so it's kind of really funny.
Their relationship is their relation. I don't have a twin. I just have a little sister. But their relationship is the relationship I wish I had with my sister when I was in my teens. It's kind of the relationship I have with her now, but that's 20 years later. So
their relationship is deja vu for me. So I don't have a twin, but I think I've said it on Twitter before. My only siblings are twins.
Yes.
So I was the older sibling to two twin boys, and it is. I mean, the only difference is Alice is a girl, but like there are so many interactions. I'm like, someone on the dev team has been an older sibling to twins because this is definitely relatable.
I can 100% believe it.
Yeah, so
we can't really talk about that, and I have deliberately not talked about that because it is one of my. We will get to that. Believe me, in all of the podcasts going forward, we'll probably get to that. But it is one of my favorite dynamics in the entire game. That's the twins. It's just we don't see it very much so far.
Yeah, because she doesn't come back into the story until 2.4. And she comes back into the story in a very big way, and she does really good work in that patch. But I would say that, it wasn't focused on their sibling relationship in that until you get into Stormblood. Because, like, yes, they have a moment because Alice is, like, really, really sick because she's been poisoned, and Alphino's has a moment. But they don't have an actual twin moment, I think, until we legitimately get to Stormblood.
No, I don't think they do. Not really.
No.
It's end of binding coils, but even that is under extraordinary circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think that's basically it. We've finally gotten through my entire list of topics, and it only took us 3.5 hours. That's nice. It will probably be shorter next time, but at the same time, who knows, right? Since we have to go through the whole rigmarole one more time, just for one expansion. But is there anything you like to say? Anything about your sort of experience, your thoughts about the game, your mutuals, the fandom, basically anything you like to say that we haven't touched upon?
I just, I've never had this many people super invested in anything I've ever done. So it's very interesting, and just not in a bad way. Just I like interacting. I like talking about this game. I like interacting with people about it. The community has been genuinely very nice. I know that the community can be too nice, and I'm not saying the community is perfect because there's definitely some.
Yes.
There's definitely some drama in the community that I've managed.
There's 14 million people or 30 million people playing it. A lot of those are on Twitter. There would have to be something going on here and there.
But I would just genuinely say, like, it's been a very, very good experience, and I would still probably play if I didn't have this like small but very vocal number of people on Twitter who are just super invested in it. But it makes it a lot more enjoyable. Because then I know when something bad happens, I have a bunch of people teasing me, but also giving me condolences, which is very sweet.
I mean, I basically made an entire gaming channel just for a chance to have a chat with you about the game. So no, I'm not invested at all. It's not entirely it's not entirely true. It's not entirely a joke either, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and then that's the only thing that I can think of right now because the game is great. I am genuinely enjoying it. It's one of the top things that I enjoy in my life right now. Not because my life is bad, but it's kind of at this weird like starting your career, but not really, but before kids and marriage and all that kind of thing. So there's
you're kind of feeling like you're at a treading water point. Not a bad one,
y-
just a bit of treading water point.
yes, and like it's not anything that I can do to speed up life. It's just like, hey, you just got to be patient.
Yeah.
So this is really helping me in the times where I just otherwise, it's just a little bit of escape so that I have something to look forward to while I'm waiting for other things to happen. So it's been very nice. I think this I got into this at a really good time for me to get into this because if I had gotten into this when I was in grad school, it would have been really awful.
So there wouldn't have been a PhD, Tina, then, I guess. Well, probably
or it
not.
would have just or it just would have been a whole shit ton slower.
Yeah.
Like I would go for months without playing, but now it's just I have the 8 to 5 and then plans with friends and stuff, but I still have plenty of time to get it to it during the week.
I'm legitimately impressed with how fast you're running through Stormblood. I have to say. I'm sure there will be a roadblock sometime, but right now I'm legitimately impressed with how fast you're running through Stormblood. Compared to Heavensward, of course.
I'm impressed by how fast it's going too, because like I've been keeping track of it, and I'm like, oh, we're already halfway done with the main quest before pre-patch. That doesn't happen, and I think because on the side on my side, I've actually been. So I would get on and I would do all of these, and then I just timed myself one day and I was like, how long does it take me to do dailies? And I was like, that's a shit ton of time I could be doing actual story stuff. So I've been cutting back like at least on the weekdays. So I think that's also helped.
Makes sense. It's also, you're not in a hurry. I mean, it's a race, right?
No.
It's not a race, right? So
no.
Yeah, then I guess the only thing I have left to say in general is thank you very much for joining me on this, Tina. It was super fun. The first one, this one, I think we got through a lot. I think it was an interesting conversation. We gave people a chance to have that, and it was very, very fun talking to you. So thank you for being here.
I had a great time. I'm looking forward to the Stormblood one, and I'm looking forward to doing it for Shadowbringers and Endwalker. So I had a lot. I had a lot of fun doing this.
So did I. So yeah, I will see with your current pace probably sometime in October maybe. So we'll see about that. Other than that, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Yeah, we will be back with that. I will be, of course, posting actual regular content on this stream. In this channel. So for those who came here not only for Tina, you will have something to do. But for now, thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!
Bye, guys.